In the engineering trades, you're constantly using your mind and body to build, maintain and repair products. And this means you have to look after yourself carefully to have a long and safe career. The main objective in safety is receiving correct information, instruction, training and supervision throughout your apprenticeship. At times you may feel under pressure to take on tasks you haven't been adequately trained for, or to rush or cut corners to get a job done quickly. Any of these things could lead to an injury or an accident. Let's look at the main hazards in engineering and explore some ways we can control them to protect ourselves and our workmates. Burns are common in engineering and are often caused by poor preparation or not using the correct safe working procedures and personal protective equipment, or PPE. Different types of processes can cause different types of burns. Some types of welding can cause radiation burns, while others can cause hot material to fly towards you. While machining metals, hot particles could also burn you. Welding produces sparks that can easily start a fire, so you need to ensure there are no rags, loose clothing or combustible materials in your work area. Every engineering process that has the potential to cause burns will have a safe work procedure. This will include the right safety equipment and PPE designed to keep you and those around you safe. Lacerations are cuts to the body, but most laceration injuries occur to the hands. Sharp tools like knives and cutting tools are an obvious cause of lacerations. Handling sheet metal is another hazard. Many metals produce sharp edges when cut, so be aware of those edges when working with sheet metal. Using lathes, milling machines and drills can produce flying debris called swarf, which is extremely sharp. Never try to remove swarf with your hands. There are tools available to safely remove swarf. Lacerations can lead to serious injury and even loss of limb function, so don't rush or take shortcuts that could cost you your career. Injuries from manual tasks can occur as a result of repetitive actions, poor or awkward postures, exerting high force to push, pull or lift heavy things, and vibration. These hazardous activities can lead to serious skeletal or muscle-related injuries that can either occur suddenly or over a long period of time. In any situation, it is very important to use correct lifting techniques to pick things up or move them. If you think they're going to be heavy or awkward, use a mechanical aid or lifting device or get help. When you move an object, make sure you have a clear pathway with no obstructions so you can see where you're going without tripping over anything. If you spill anything or find something spilt on the floor, clean it up straight away. You or someone else could slip and fall. Working on lathes and other machines often requires you to stand for long periods. This can lead to fatigue and wear and tear on your back and legs, particularly if you adopt a poor posture. You can ensure a good posture by raising or lowering the equipment or by changing the way you work. It's surprising how much we take our eyes and ears for granted, but in workshops and on site, there are a multitude of hazards to both our vision and our hearing. Grinding, cutting and welding, using lathes, milling machines and drills are all processes that produce flying debris. Without correct protection, particles could get in your eyes or face. Partial blindness could end your career and affect all other areas of your life.
When metal foreign body gets into the eye, when traveling at high speed, it actually can lead to blindness and loss of vision. Other complications include an abrasion of the eye, which is a scratch to the upper layer of the eye. It can lead to an infection and eventually a loss of vision. Eye PPE is important because it protects your eyes from any foreign material when you're doing certain things and other activities such as welding. If an eye protection is not worn, you can actually get a flesh burn, which can cause pain, irritation and further problems.
You only get one set of eyes and they can't be replaced, but you can protect them. There are different types of eye protection for different jobs. Sometimes you'll need a full face shield instead of goggles, depending on whether you're cutting, grinding or drilling, for instance. Swarf can fly up at high speed and could lodge in your hair and clothing. When you clean up after a job, you need to take extra care removing your PPE, as particles could fall out, possibly into your eyes. Never use compressed air to clean yourself down under any circumstances. Always use the correct eye protection for the task you're performing, and if in doubt, ask your trainer or supervisor.
No matter how quick your job is, you have to use the eye protection. It protects your eyes from any foreign material, and if you're doing welding, it protects your eyes from flash burns.
Many tradespeople in their latter years experience some degree of hearing loss. This can often be due to not using the correct hearing protection during their careers. Engineering work creates a range of noises that can damage your hearing. Both long-term exposure and sudden, very loud bursts of noise can lead to permanent hearing loss, and damage to hearing is generally irreversible.
So many people that I've seen in their 50s and 60s that have hearing loss, and unfortunately it's because that they haven't been using hearing protection throughout their working life. This leads to many problems later in life, including, as the obvious one, loss of hearing, and occasionally they get ringing in the ears, which is irreversible and can't be fixed. Hearing PPE is important because it protects your hearing from further deterioration or further loss of hearing, and furthermore, depending on the activity you're doing, there might be foreign materials falling into the ear causing trauma. When you're young, it seems easy and it seems that you get over things quite quickly, but once you get older, those things are irreversible and you have to live with the injury and with the problem for the rest of your life.
Always use the hearing protection required for the task you're performing, which will vary depending on the activity. Ask your supervisor if you're unsure. In the engineering environment, most plant, machinery and processes involve moving parts. Production lines, forklifts, lathes, milling machines, grinders and cutting equipment all present hazards. Common machinery hazards include entanglement, caused by loose clothing, long hair, gloves or jewellery; cutting or puncturing, caused by tools or moving machinery; crushing, caused by opening or closing of nip points or pressing actions of machinery; flying particles such as swarf. There is a series of steps that you need to follow to ensure your safety. Ensure your work area and machine is clean before starting work. Before using any plant or machinery, you need instruction and training. Follow the standard operating procedure on any process and ask your supervisor if in any doubt. The condition of all plant and equipment should be inspected before commencing work. The machine must have all guards in place before you use it. Report unsafe conditions or damage and do not operate the plant or machine if there is any risk to your or others' safety. You must have all the correct PPE for the task. Plant and machinery must have emergency stops. Make sure you know where they are and how to use them. Never wear gloves while operating rotating machinery such as drills or lathes. Hazardous substances can be found in the engineering environment. These include liquids, vapours, gases and particles that can be inhaled, swallowed or absorbed through the skin. Many of these chemicals can cause immediate or long-term illnesses if used or handled incorrectly. All hazardous substances must be supplied with a Material Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS. This is a reference document for handling, storing and using the substance. It also details the correct PPE to be worn. Before you use any hazardous substance, you must have instruction and training on how to use it and be supervised during its use. Hazardous substances must be labelled correctly, no matter how small the container, and used and stored at the correct temperature. You should never use a drink container for any hazardous substance. Isolation means the removal of all energy sources to plant and equipment, especially when it's being repaired, constructed, cleaned or maintained. Before you lock out or tag out any machine or energy source, you must have had instruction, training and supervision on the correct procedures. Although you're only starting your career, an understanding of the isolation process is important. At some time in your apprenticeship, you will need to isolate equipment. In the isolation process, you must identify all energy sources and isolate them. In the case of electrical equipment, this means isolate at the source, not the stop button. Lock or otherwise secure all isolating points using your own padlock and danger tag. Everyone working on the process must use their own lock, which only they can remove. Verify that the isolation is effective. Danger tags warn people around you that the process or machine cannot be used.
Walking down a flight of stairs with a crate of bearings and wheels in my hand, and I took my first step off and just didn't think and didn't react in time, and it rolled itself under. And I just thought it was a sprained ankle, and so did the medical centre that I was at. So they sent me back to work for the next 2 weeks, thinking it was just a sprained ankle. But when the swelling did go down, and I finally went in for an ultrasound, it was determined that it was a torn ligament. I did have to have surgery. That was day surgery, which put me off for about 8 months. After the operation, I was bedridden for quite some time. Obviously, I couldn't walk. It affected not just me personally, it affected the rest of my family. Things such as simple as bathing, I had to get people to help me bathe, help me dress. Even the basic things that you think of and take for granted, I couldn't even do, just through, something small as this. I was heavily medicated. I was barely eating right. I lost weight while I was bedridden. Couldn't go out, couldn't drive. I couldn't do a lot of things. It really got me down. I talked to a lot of guys at work who have had a lot bigger work case injuries than myself, and it seems pretty scary at the time just talking to them about it. But for it actually something to happen to me, honestly I didn't think it would. And it's changed me quite significantly. I push for safety now a lot more than I would have before. I'm constantly double checking that I've got gloves on if I need to be, or safety glasses. I'm a lot more open and aware of things now. I'm a lot more aware of my surroundings, what could happen. I'm kind of taking the extra time to make sure everything's safe, make sure I'm doing things correctly. For people starting off in their apprenticeship, I'd advise them not to rush into anything. Take the time out, assess the situation. Always be safety conscious, because you've only got one shot at it. You don't want to mess it up.
Starting a new engineering trade is an exciting time and can lead to a very rewarding career. The key to having a safe and healthy career is receiving instruction, training and supervision. Making safety your #1 priority. Never rush or take shortcuts. Using the correct PPE for every task. Asking questions whenever you feel unsure or unsafe. When you've learnt these steps, you're well on your way to a great career.